Elias stood in his garage. He was surrounded by sawdust. He was holding a hammer in one hand and a set of instructions in the other. He was trying to build a simple wooden birdhouse. It was supposed to be relaxing. It was supposed to be fun. But Elias was sweating. His finger was bleeding slightly. And the birdhouse looked like it had been hit by a truck. He looked out the window. His neighbor, Steve, was perfectly mowing his lawn in straight lines. His other neighbor, Sarah, was packing a kayak onto her car roof. Elias wondered, why are Americans so obsessed with working on their days off? Why couldn't they just sit and drink tea? He wanted to fit in, but he felt like he was failing the American weekend test. But before we find out if Elias ever builds that birdhouse. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. I am your teacher, and today we are going to talk about something very important, fun. In this episode, you will learn English by listening to the story of Elias, a man who moves to the United States and tries to understand the culture of American hobbies. We are going to explore the great outdoors, the obsession with fixing things, and the art of cooking outside. To help you understand the story, we are going to focus on 3 specific power words that you will hear today: recreational, DIY, do-it-yourself, and enthusiast. Are you ready to enjoy the weekend? Let's get started. Elias moved to Denver, Colorado, for his job as a software engineer. He came from a bustling city where free time meant meeting friends at a cafe, smoking a cigarette, and watching people walk by. But Denver was different. Denver was quiet during the week, but on the weekend, it exploded with energy. On his first Saturday, Elias woke up at 9 a.m. He made coffee and looked out the window. The street was empty. Where was everyone? Were they sleeping? He called his co-worker, Mike. "Mike, do you want to get coffee?" Elias asked. "I can't." Mike shouted. The wind was blowing into his phone. "I'm halfway up a mountain. I'm hiking." Elias was confused. Hiking? It was Saturday morning. Why would anyone want to walk up a mountain for fun? Let me explain the context here. In the US, especially in places like Colorado, outdoor activities are extremely popular. People feel a need to conquer nature. They don't just walk, they hike, climb, and run. Elias decided he needed to try this. He wanted to be a recreational hiker. To be recreational means something done for enjoyment, not for work. A professional athlete runs for money, a recreational runner runs for fun. So, the next weekend, Elias bought a pair of expensive boots. He bought a water bottle. He drove to a place called Red Rocks. He started walking. The trail was steep. The sun was hot. His legs started to burn. He saw people running past him, grandmothers, children, even dogs. They all looked happy. Elias felt like he was dying. "Good morning," a woman chirped as she ran past him. "On your left," a cyclist shouted. Elias reached the top of the hill. He was gasping for air. But then, he looked out. He saw the red stone formations against the blue sky. He saw the city of Denver far away. It was beautiful. He took a selfie. He felt a sense of accomplishment. He realized that for Americans, relaxation often looks like hard work. It is about earning your rest. A few weeks later, Elias decided to try a different hobby. He noticed that his neighbor, Steve, was always in his garage. Steve was always fixing things. He was fixing his car, painting his fence, or building tables. Elias thought, "I am an engineer. I can build things too." He went to a store called Home Depot. If you have never been to an American Home Depot, imagine a warehouse the size of an airport. It is filled with wood, tools, paint, and confused men wandering around. Elias wanted to build a birdhouse. He bought wood. He bought a saw. He bought nails. He felt very masculine. He felt very American. This was the world of DIY. DIY stands for do it yourself. It is a huge part of American culture. Instead of paying a professional to fix their house, many Americans try to do it themselves to save money and feel proud. Elias set up a workspace in his garage. He measured the wood. He cut the wood. Saw. But the wood was crooked. He tried to nail the pieces together. Bang bang, ouch. He hit his thumb. The birdhouse looked terrible. It leaned to the left. The hole for the bird was too small. No bird could fit inside. Elias sat on the floor of his garage, covered in dust. He felt frustrated. He realized that DIY is much harder than it looks on YouTube. Just as Elias was about to throw the birdhouse in the trash, he smelled something. It was a smoky, savory, delicious smell. It smelled like charred meat and sweet sauce. He walked out of his garage. The smell was coming from Steve's backyard. Steve was standing in front of a large, black metal machine. Smoke was rising from it. He was wearing an apron that said, "Kiss the cook." "Hey Elias!" Steve shouted. "You look like you had a fight with a tree." Elias looked at his dusty clothes. "I tried to build a birdhouse," he admitted. "The birdhouse won." Steve laughed. "Come on over. I am smoking some ribs. Have a beer." Elias walked over to the fence. This was his introduction to the most famous American hobby of all, the barbecue. Elias is about to taste some delicious ribs. But before he eats, let's pause and look at the power words that describe these activities. Word number 1, recreational. This relates to activity done for enjoyment when one is not working. Example, fishing is a popular recreational activity in this lake. Word number 2, DIY, do it yourself. The activity of decorating, building, or making repairs at home by oneself rather than employing a professional. Example, I am not good at DIY projects. I usually break things. Word number 3, enthusiast. A person who is very interested in a particular activity or subject. This is stronger than just liking something. Example, my uncle is a classic car enthusiast. He owns 3 old Mustangs. Okay. Elias knows what hiking is. He failed at DIY, and now he is meeting a barbecue enthusiast. Let's see what happens next. Elias entered Steve's backyard. It was like an outdoor living room. There were comfortable chairs, a fire pit, and the massive grill. This is not just cooking, Steve explained, pointing at the ribs. This is art. Low and slow. I have been cooking these for 6 hours. Elias was shocked. 6 hours? For dinner? It's a hobby, man, Steve said. It's about the process. You sit outside, you drink a cold drink, you talk to your neighbors, and you wait for the meat. Steve handed Elias a plate. The rib was covered in sticky red sauce. Elias took a bite. The meat fell off the bone. It was smoky, sweet, and spicy. It was incredible. This is amazing, Elias said with his mouth full. Thanks, Steve beamed. I'm a bit of a barbecue enthusiast. Every Saturday, I try a new recipe. Elias looked around. Steve wasn't running up a mountain. He wasn't sweating in a garage. He was just standing there, enjoying the smell of the food and the company of a neighbor. Elias realized that he didn't have to force himself to be a hiker. He didn't have to be a carpenter. There were many ways to enjoy an American weekend. You know, Elias said. In my country, we grill too. But we use different spices. Cumin, coriander, garlic. Steve's eyes lit up. Really? That sounds good. You think you could teach me? Elias smiled. I think I could. The next weekend, Elias didn't go to the mountain. He didn't go to Home Depot. He went to the grocery store. He bought lamb. He bought spices. He invited Steve over. He fired up a small, simple grill he bought online. He wasn't an expert yet, but he was learning. He realized that a hobby isn't just about doing something. It is about connecting with people. He found his place in the American suburbs. He wasn't the hiking guy, or the DIY guy. He was the flavor guy. And the birdhouse. Well, he put it in the tree anyway. It was crooked and ugly. But one day, a very desperate squirrel moved in. So, it was a success after all. Elias learned that the best hobby is the one that makes you happy and brings you closer to others. Whether it's hiking, building, or grilling, the goal is to enjoy the moment. The moral of the story is this: don't do what you think you should do what brings you joy. Now, I have a question for you. What is the most popular hobby in your country? Do people like to go outside, or stay inside? Tell me about your weekends in the comments below. If you want to build your English skills like a DIY project, click subscribe and listen to this episode next. We are going to explore cinema and movies, how to talk about your favorite films. Thank you for listening. Find your passion, become an enthusiast, and I'll see you in the next story.